time for review day 3. We're going to start off with determining domain and range of linear functions. Number 1 asks us to find the range of this function. Range is from bottom to top. So we're going to look if there's a bottom boundary, and there sure is. Right down here at -9. Look to see if there's a top boundary. There is not. So it's everything greater than -9. So y is greater than -9. Now, these look kind of funny, and I would much rather you go ahead and rewrite this with the y on the left-hand side, because it makes more sense that way. So y is greater than 9 means all numbers bigger than that. A is the correct answer. To find the domain of the function, that is from left to right. If I look here, I cannot put a boundary on the left-hand side, but I can put a boundary on the right-hand side, and that boundary is at +3. So x is less than +3. Again, I'm going to change this around to put x on this side. Just make sure that when you do that, that the open end faces the same direction. Here, I'm going to put x is greater than -9. We're going to change this one here, say x is greater than 3. And this one says x is less than 3. The only one that is correct is going to be D. X is less than 3. Now, to find the range of this function, given that domain, the easiest way to do it is to use a calculator. And now you're hearing me walk across the room because I left my calculators far away. So, what you want to do whenever you have a function that's already f of x, you're going to put that into y equals -2x plus 4. The domain means these are my x values. So when x is -4, what is y? When x is 2, what is y? And when x is 3, what is y? Okay, so we're going to fill in those blanks. Let's go to the table and find out what those numbers are. So when x is -4, y is 12. When x is 2, y is 0. And when x is 3, y is -2. Now the only thing I'm going to ask you to do after that is to make sure that you put these things in the proper order, which means from least to greatest. My smallest number is -2, next smallest number is 0, and then 12. Okay. Next set, what is the range of this function if the replacement set for x is -4, 2, and 3? Now, you could definitely plug in these numbers for x 3 times. That's totally fine. What I would rather have you do is to solve this equation for y and then plug it in the calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this equation. I want y by itself, so I have to subtract 2x from both sides, which gives me the new equation, y equals -2x plus 12. I'm going to plug this equation into the calculator and do the exact same things I did a second ago, which means I need to find out when x is -4, what is y? When x is 2, what is y? And when x is 3, what is y? So let me plug that into the calculator. It's -2x plus 12 this time, so I'm just going to change that to 12. And go look here. When x is -4, y is 20. When x is 2, y is 8. And when x is 3, y is 6. So we're looking for 28 and 6, which is actually this one. They're in the wrong order. Naughty, naughty. I don't like that, but it's the right numbers. None of these other ones have the correct numbers. All right, here's what we've been doing this week. Simplifying numeric and algebraic expressions using laws of exponents. This should be fresh in your brain. So what we're going to do is we're going to, again, first break this up into like terms. So 24 divided by 3, x to the -3 divided by x to the power 5. We have just a y to the 0 on the bottom, which means we need a placeholder, so I'm going to put a 1 up there. And then we have z to the power of 7 over z to the power of 3. Now, as we talked about in class, the most important thing here is to go through the problem one piece at a time, and then for each question, each part of the question that you answer, eliminate answer choices. So here, 24 divided by 3, if I were to make this a fraction, it'd be 8 over 1, which means that 8 should be on the top of my fraction. Okay? So I'm going to look at my answer choices. 8's on top, 8's on bottom, that's out. 8's on top, 8's on top. So I've got 1 down. Now I'm going to look here. X to the negative third divided by 5 means I'm going to have negative 3 minus 5, which means x to the negative 8. When I have a negative power, that goes on the bottom. Okay? So look for an x to the 8th on the bottom. This has x squared on the bottom, that's out. This has x to the 8th, this has x to the 8th, so C and D are still in play. Next, we have y to the power of 0. Remember, whenever you have y to the power of 0 or anything to the power of 0, it becomes 1. And in questions like this, it gets canceled out, so there's no y in my answer. This one has a y in it, D is out, C is the correct answer. Now, we're going to go ahead and finish this off just because we have z to the power of 7 divided by z to the power of 3. That becomes 7 minus 3, which is z to the power of 4. It's a positive exponent, which means it goes on the top. That exactly matches my answer. Number 6 is to simplify. Simplify means multiply these things together. So again, it's a grouping. Negative 2 times 7, a to the power of 8 times a to the power of negative 3, b times b to the power of 4, and then there's just a stray c hanging out at the end. When we have a number here, a variable with no exponent, we're going to put a 1 there so we can remember to add those things. Now, negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. No big surprise there. When we add powers of the same base, we're going to add those things, so it becomes a to the power of 8 plus negative 3, b to the power of 1 plus 4, and then just regular old c. So I'm going to plug these things in. 8 plus negative 3 is 5. So it becomes negative 14, a to the power of 5, 1 plus 4 is b to the power of 5, and then c at the end. This is my final answer. Let's go on to the next page. The next one asks us to simplify the expression, which means we're not solving because there's no equal sign. We're just combining like terms. But before we do that, we need to distribute here and here. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is plus 3. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. Negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. Then I look for my like terms. 3x minus 6x is negative 3x. 3 minus 14 is negative 11. So it should be negative 3x minus 11, which is A. Another way you can check these answer choices is using the y equals function in the calculator. Your original function would go in the first one, so 3 times x plus 1 minus 2 times 3x plus 7, and the answer that you think is correct goes into y2, negative 3x minus 11. Check your table. Both of these columns should be correct. They should be exactly the same. If they are, those are correct. If you have trouble with this part, you can do this for each answer choice until you find one where both of those columns are correct. Number 8 says, which of these is equivalent to 3x minus 1 minus 2 times x plus 3 minus x? Same process. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply here and here. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then we have a minus x that's just hanging out at the end. We're going to combine these like terms. 3x minus 2x is x. X minus x means that all of these x's cancel out. Negative 3 minus 6 equals negative 9. So that should be my correct answer. Again, we can check it using the calculator by plugging in the original 3 times x minus 1 minus 2 times x plus 3 minus x. Go to our what we think the answer is and check to see if both of those columns are correct, and they are. Number 9 says multiply the polynomials. Now in this case we're going to use double distribution, or the FOIL method. FOIL means first times first, so that's going to be x times x The O is for outside, plus x times 3, inside, minus 6 times x, and then last, minus 6 times 3. Then we multiply all these things together and combine any like terms we can. X times x is x squared, x times 3 is plus 3x, negative 6 times x is negative 6x, negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. If we look here in the middle, those are like terms. 3x minus 6x is x squared minus 3x minus 18. To check your answer in the calculator, you are going to put in the original thing, which is x minus 6 times x plus 3, and you're going to put in what you think the answer is, x squared minus 3x minus 18. Go to your table, check to see that all of the two columns at the end are identical, and they are. Okay. Number 10 says find the area in simplest terms of the rectangle. Now, in this case, we have a star, meaning that we can use the formula chart. The formula chart states that the area of a rectangle is length times width. We have length, we have width, so we're going to multiply those two things together. A equals 3x squared y times 4x to the power of 3y squared. Now, our next step, just like the ones on the previous page, is to start grouping things. I'm going to take my numbers. I'm going to take my x's. And I'm going to take my y's. Now before I start doing all this math, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put a 1 there on that y, just so we know it's there. 3 times 4 is 12. Multiplying powers of the same base, I add the exponents. Same over here. Then to finish this problem off, we just add those exponents together. 12, x to the power of 5, y to the power of 3 is the correct answer. This one we cannot check in the calculator because it has two different variables, and we can't do that. Alright, last one here says the area of a rectangular frame is x squared minus x minus 42. Which of the following could be the length and width of the frame? We are going to factor to find out what these two things are. So we're going to go ahead and take A, B, and C. A is 1, B is negative 1, C is negative 42. Now remember, when factoring, the top is A times C, the bottom is B, and we're looking for numbers that multiply to those values. So 1 times negative 42 is negative 42. On the bottom we have a negative 1. So we need numbers that multiply to negative 42 and add up to negative 1. So remember, in y1 you're going to put negative 42 divided by x. In y2 you are going to put the same thing with a plus x at the end, and you're going to be looking for negative 1 at the far end. So I'm going to plug this in. Negative 42 divided by x. Second one, negative 42 divided by x plus x. Look for a negative 1 on the far right side. So I'm going to scroll down here a bit. Oh, there it was. 6 and negative 7. So I have 6 and negative 7. Now, if we remember how to find these things, we're going to use a bottoms-up method where we take the a value and divide it by each of these. And then those are going to create my two factors. Now, bottoms-up, remember, means that the value at the bottom goes to the front. So this goes here, and this goes here. This is 1x plus 6. This is going to be 1x minus 7. So looking for x plus 6 and x minus 7. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and finish these last two problems since we're almost there anyway. Number 12 says the room that is shown in the figure below has a floor space of 2x squared plus 2x minus 15 square feet. If the width is x plus 3 feet, what is the length? Well, we did this again, and we're going to go ahead and factor this and then just make sure that our answer is correct by checking with this thing. So we need to find a, b, and c. For this function, it's 2, 1, and negative 15. Okay, so a times c, 2 times negative 15 is negative 30. B is 1. So we're going to plug those numbers in. Remember, negative 30 divided by x, and then negative 30 divided by x plus x. We're looking for positive 1. There it is, 6 and negative 5. Okay, then we're going to take our f value for a and divide both of these, see if they reduce. This one does, to 3 over 1. So my two factors are going to come from 3 over 1 and a negative 5 over 2. Using bottoms up, this becomes x plus 3, which is the one we knew. This becomes 2x minus 5. This is the answer, because it's the one we were looking for. Last one says graphing quadratic functions. What is the domain? Domain is from left to right. So we're going to look here. My domain begins here and ends here. Now the most important part here is looking at what these x values are and also what the symbols look like. So we've got a closed circle here, which means it's going to be negative 4 is less than or equal to x. We've got an open circle above the 6, so it's going to be less than 6. Negative 4 is less than or equal to x is less than 6. Okay, well that symbol's wrong here. This is a y, so that's wrong. This one is correct. This is also a y, so that's wrong. There is your day 3 review.